生死是表象，生命无生死。
Life and death are only images. There is neither life nor death in life. Xiefeng. Translated by Qin Yu. Edited by Peter. The Mobius strip tells us that life and death are not opposites. Life is death, and death is life. There is death in life, and life in death. The Yellow Emperor's Book of the Hidden Talisman said, "Life is the root of death, and death is the root of life." Babies cry when they are born. Why do they cry? Because life is bitter. How do you know that life is bitter? This is like a chick in an egg that has been hatched for 21 days, pecking at the shell. Although it does not know how thick the eggshell is, whether it can be pecked through, or whether there is a vast world outside the eggshell, it must peck. That is its instinct. What is instinct? Instinct is a kind of innate performance that biosystems can make without learning, such as chickens and eggshells pecking at them, bees making honey, migratory birds migrating with the seasons, mice digging holes, roosters crowing, etc. Babies cry as soon as they are born, and they know how to suck a breast. This is also an instinct. Everything has an instinct. If they do not have an instinct, everything will perish. So where did the instinct come from? This involves the origin of life. Please see the chapter of life. All things on earth are created by higher life, and instincts are embedded in the structure and order of life. The purpose of this chapter is to talk about life and death. Why do we say, life is death and death is life? To understand the true meaning of life and death, we must proceed from the following 3 points. First, do people have past lives? First of all, let me reprint the full text of an article compiled by Wang Jiankong and Li Liming and published in Reader magazine. Unbelievable, Reborn Girl. In 1926, a lovely little girl was born in Delhi, India. Her name was Shani Devi. When she was just born, there was nothing abnormal about her at all. But when she was 7 years old, little Shani suddenly said to her mother inexplicably, "Mom, I used to live in the city of Mathura." She also enthusiastically told her mother about Mathura and the situation at her home then. Later, Shanti mentioned this matter several more times. The parents were very worried when they saw their 7-year-old daughter talking about something irrelevant, so they took her to see a doctor. The doctor was puzzled after hearing Shanti's narration. "It's really strange. This child has no symptoms of mental abnormalities at all. How could she say these unbelievable things? Let's observe her for a while." However, at the age of 9, Shanti still did not forget about her living in Mathura. "Mom, did I mention that I lived in Mathura before? I got married there and gave birth to 3 children. My name was Luchi when I lived in Mathura." Shanti also told her mother the names and characteristics of the 3 children. The parents became more and more anxious after listening to their daughter's intoxicated chatter, thinking that the child's condition was probably getting worse, and they often wiped away their tears in secret. One day, a visitor came to see Shanti's mother. As soon as Shanti saw that person, she suddenly called out, "Mom, this person is my former husband's cousin. He also lives in Mathura." The guest was surprised when he heard Shanti's words and said, "Your daughter is right. I used to live in Mathura." But how did she know about it? After the incident spread, it attracted the attention of the Indian government, and a special investigation committee was formed. The committee brought Shani to Mathura for on-the-spot investigation. Shanti has never left Delhi since her birth. But as soon as she arrived in Mathura, she was able to warmly greet the local people who came to meet her in the Mathura dialect, as if she had met a long-lost friend. When she came to the door of a house, she stopped suddenly and said to others, "This is the house I used to live in." She walked in the door, pointed to an old man, and said, "He is just the father of my former husband." Then, she recognized her 2 children, and she also told people about her previous life in Mathura in detail, her association with her friends, the nearby landscape, and the school she was in at that time. The local people were very surprised when they heard her narration. What she said was completely correct, which was exactly the situation at that time. So little Shanti is the one who was reborn. The people who came to investigate this issue had to come to this conclusion. In India, The ancient Buddhist country, there are really many reborn people. Swarata Misho is one of them. One day, when he was traveling by bicycle, he pointed to a house he had never been to and said that he had lived here for a period and talked as if he just thought of it. He also talked about the past. This surprised the accompanying family members. They ran into the village to inquire, and what Svolrata said was exactly what happened here decades ago. It is said that Svolrata has been resurrected 3 times. There was also a young man in India named Gaspiel. He just died shortly. On the day a person named Yaki died in a village 35 kilometers away, Gaspier suddenly woke up in the coffin placed in his home. When people pulled him out of the coffin, to their surprise, Gaspiel knew the appearance of Yaki, who was far away in a foreign land, and all the things that happened in that village. There are many examples of past lives recorded in ancient and modern Chinese and foreign books. We can't completely believe what they say, but in the face of the facts, we can't deny everything. We can deny that the statement of Tang Monk in Journey to the West is the reincarnation of Jean Chanzi, but we cannot but believe in the theory of the reincarnated soul boy of the Tibetan Panchen Lama in Tibet. For example, Wendu Gongbao Kaidan, the reincarnated soul boy of the 9th Panchen Lama Sangdang Kyuji Nyama, was able to accurately select the utensils used by the previous Panchen Lama from other identical objects, and even more surprisingly, he was able to call out the name of Gajan Pong, who had sung for the Panchen Lama, from the crowd. Before that, the two had never met. Gongbao Kaidan was not discovered by accident. A pill jumped out of the gold bottle during the shaking. They opened it, and it was Wendu Gongbao Kaidan's name on it. A pill jumped out of the gold bottle during the shaking. They opened it, and it was Wendu Gongbao Kaidan's name on it. In fact, anyone who was a human being in the last life and reincarnated as a human in the next life will definitely have a feeling of déjà vu about a place suddenly and dimly in your life. In some places, although you have never been there, once you arrive, they must be reflected in your subconsciousness. You don't know what's going on, you just feel as if you have been here before. Of course, if you were an animal in your previous life, you will not have this kind of memory, but you must have a special love for a certain animal, and you are particularly disgusted or afraid of some animals. If you were a celestial in the 1,000-year world or the 10,000-year world, you will not have this kind of hazy memory, but you will definitely hate the selfishness of human society and subconsciously feel that you don't belong to this world. If you come from the Elysium world, you don't like meat by nature. Many wonderful hallucinations often appear in your mind, and you have an instinctive closeness to Buddhism. Second, do people really have an afterlife? It's hard for us to believe the hearsay of others, but we have to believe the theories and examples based on scientific research and clinical practice. There is an organization in this world called the International Association for Near-Death Studies, whose website is www.nderf.org. The results of this research organization show that people have an afterlife. Please feel free to contact them to discuss where people go after death. As living people, it is impossible for them to clearly know the scene after death, but for those who died but came back to life due to various reasons, it is true that some of them have experienced the scene after death. I myself started to explore the essence of life because of a fact that came into being 20 years ago. That is, no matter whether people in the world believe it or not, I am sure that life has an afterlife, and because of my continuous research and exploration, I discovered my past life and future life and made clear the purpose and significance of my birth. I passed through a happy darkness and saw the bright sunshine. I felt extremely happy. I was pushed into a black hole, and my mind still maintained infinite peace. Suddenly, a ray of light appeared in front of me. It was like a star in the sky at first, and then it turned into a sun at dawn in an instant. The radiant sun does not dazzle me. On the contrary, looking at this red sun, I feel unparalleled happiness. This is a beautiful place. I am very happy to come to this place. I feel delightful. I seemed to have a nightmare. Countless ghosts came to claim my life, and a black tornado also hit me. I was frightened to death, and suddenly I was pulled back by a force. I watched the doctors tossing my dead body. Relatives and friends were mourning and crying, but I drifted farther and farther away from them. I was not sad. I felt extremely peaceful and felt that there was a beautiful place in the distance, and that is where I should be. The above are the memories and narrations of people who died and came back to life. Although they did not describe what kind of place they arrived at, it is certain that they still have a clear consciousness after death, and they also feel the beauty or dreadfulness of the place they are going to. It is certain that people will have an afterlife. There are only two kinds of eternal things in the universe. One is energy and the other is life. Without life, the existence of the universe is meaningless. Without energy, life will have nothing to attach itself to. Life is eternal. The so-called death is just the transformation of the life carrier. After the body of life dies, the spiritual body of life will enter another life carrier. After a dog dies, it may be reincarnated as a human being. Then, as a dog, it died, but it was born again as a human being. That is to say, life is the root of death, and death is the root of life. Where there is no death, there is no birth. Where there is no birth, there is no death. If the life of a dog does not die, then the life of a human cannot be born. To be born in the 1,000-year world, the life in the mortal world must die, and life cannot step into two rivers at the same time. So, what is the meaning of "in life there is death, in death there is life"? We know that the aging of the body is gradual and unconscious. If we take photos of the life mileage from birth to death every day, by taking out two adjacent photos and comparing them, you cannot see the difference between the two at all. However, if you compare the photos with the ones which were taken after a period of time, such as 1 month or a year, you can clearly see the difference between them. That is to say, life is dying every moment. In life there is death. So, is there life in death? Yes, there is life in death. We already know that life is eternal, and people have an afterlife. So what factors will determine our afterlife? Is becoming a cow, a pig, a human, an immortal, or a Buddha in the next life accidental or inevitable? We know that every result has an early cause. It is impossible for anyone to suddenly become a president. A desert will not suddenly become an oasis, and a tadpole will not suddenly become a frog. The change is gradual, but the result may be sudden. For a person to reincarnate as a beast in the next life, he needs to continue to do evil, to squander and waste. He needs not only to spend all the savings in his life bank, but also overspend and leave a deficit. Otherwise, he will not be able to reincarnate as a beast in his next life. In the same way, if a person wants to become a Buddha, he must consciously and voluntarily reach the point of having nothing. Not only can he not own money, fame, property, beautiful women, family, status, etc., but he must also not be obsessed with a certain concept or have disputes with common people, and of course he must not kill or eat meat. If you want to go to the 1,000-year world in your next life, your humanity must be perfect. So, are there any signs that indicate what kind of reincarnation criteria a person has reached at the time of his death? Yes, that are the different structures of neurons in the central nervous system of the brain at the time of death. Different structures have different colors. If a color scanner can be invented, when a person dies, open his neurocranium and you can see the color of his brain with the scanner. If it is colorful, it can be concluded that his life has gone to the 10,000-year world. If it is purple, he has gone to the Elysium world. If it appears red or green or blue, he must have gone to the 1,000-year world. If it appears white, he will be reincarnated as a human. If it shows a faint dark color, he will enter the animal world in the next life. If it is black, he will definitely go to the netherworld, or the frozen layer, or to the inflaming layer. In short, life and death are only images. Life has neither life nor death. Just like Seth said, death is not the end of life.